We're back for another episode of our TV podcast, our sixth episode. This time, we're going to be talking about The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 3, The
We
Path,
are?
and The Studio, Season 1, Episode 7, Casting. Yes, we are. Those are the two episodes we're covering. I will say, in response to what we touched on last week, I am now all caught up on the rehearsal.
Damn, that was fast.
That's good stuff, guys. I get it's good. It's good stuff. The first two episodes of the new season are out. This more recent episode, the second episode, some of the most ridiculous stuff you could possibly put on television. It's like it's very it's really it's really pushing the limits of what you're allowed to do in the media. um, yeah, I mean, he's kinda just the GOAT, Nathan Fielder. He's kinda just the greatest.
A very singular, artist.
Yeah, yeah, so, without giving a ton away, part of that episode is that or is that he, I guess, um, draws an illustration between, uh,
Paramount?
Paramount, the
Yeah.
studio, and, Nazi Germany. Um, um It's really funny, guys. It's really funny. Um,
Yeah, I saw little clips of that. That's very jolly.
yeah, it's fucking funny. It's insane that like there were so many things about this episode that were so over the top that one of the most like just like fucked up like you're watching it and you're like what the fuck is happening? You just totally forget about by the end of the episode because of how many more moments in the episode one up it. Um, it's just ridiculous. It's a good show. Would recommend. I guess we'll start again this week with The Last of Us, though I feel like the episode that's more fun to talk about is probably The Studios. But The Last of Us is our big show, and this is an important episode in the sense that it is the episode that follows up spoilers if you didn't listen to last week's episode or you don't have internet access. Uh the episode that follows up Joel's death. Um
Yeah. Yeah. This is the
it's
episode. Yeah.
as we talked about last week, we kind of speculated on if maybe they will lose viewership, for example, because of Joel's death. And so following it up with a good episode is probably key to retaining some of those viewers. Did you enjoy this episode?
I think it's okay. I think it's okay.
Same,
I think that
same.
this episode really solidifies, in my mind, the fact that this season is going to be very tame,
Yeah,
over creatively in terms of being an adaptation. And also there's some like it's not the most well-written episode of television ever.
I was gonna get there. It's
Um,
it's probably a fine place to start. I think
yeah.
yeah, I mean you know, so much of the appeal of the show has been Joel. I'm gonna sneeze so bad. One second.
Okay.
You could leave
Bless
that in
you.
the episode. There might be another one.
Bless you. We'll see
My
if it
allergies are
looks like
really
that.
bad. Anyway, so much of the appeal of the show was Joel for me, obviously. Uh, not just specifically Pedro Pascal's performance, but just like Joel as a character. And there was debates on Twitter recently about like video games with actual good writing for whatever that's worth. Um, I like the writing in The Last of Us, I'll say. The video game, I mean. The show, and specifically this episode, called to attention the fact that like they're not really killing it in the writing room, you know? They're not
Yeah.
uh
Craig Mazin beating the hack allegations?
see, here's the thing is that I feel as though most of the show has probably been like this, but this week's episode just made it more obvious because of what it's following up, where so many of the ideas in the show are like spelled out to you in a way where it's just like, am I a baby? Am I literally like a toddler,
Well,
like with a
bro,
bib on?
this
Like,
episode starts, and then Ellie is talking to Gale, who is the therapist character,
Yeah.
and Ellie's just
Which
like, "Yeah, I miss Joel. Yeah, what about it? Yeah, things weren't perfect, and yeah, I wish I could talk to him again, but you know, the last interaction you have with somebody doesn't define the whole relationship. And yeah, so
yeah.
what?" And it's like, dude,
So
dude,
when we talked about the first episode of the season, we mentioned that, like, Gale being introduced as a character was kind of okay, or even, like, a good decision for the scene that it created, which I
that was a
really
good
liked.
scene with Pedro
Yeah.
Pascal's Joel.
But we
Yes.
also said, how big of a character is she going to be this season? And after watching this episode, we found out that not only is she uh, a bigger character in the season, but also that she is a useful device for the writers. um, a device that maybe you don't need. You know, you could argue. I think a lot of people are going to draw comparisons between the game and the show, as they have all season and as they did in the previous season. And they're saying, like, oh, this, and that should have been like the game, and like the game accomplished this, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying, as we've said on in the previous weeks, that like it has to be a one for one replica. I'd prefer if it's not a one for one replica. There are some things that you have to do when you're switching mediums. But to the point that I've seen people make, which is that the game got across the same ideas without needing to use a character like this.
Yeah.
It's just kinda true, you know? I mean, that is a fair point where it's like, you probably could communicate these things in TV form as well without using a therapist. It's funny, I was reminded of a script I wrote in college that involved a therapist character where my professor was like, "You probably don't need this person here, like, you could probably do this without having a therapist as an outlet." And I'm like, that was when I was really starting to learn how to write scripts. Obviously, that's what I was there to do. And it was like such an easy cushion. And I'm not saying that I am a better writer than the writers of The Last of Us, but
Like Craig Mazin.
yeah, than Craig Mason. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying I
He
could
might
see
be.
how this real example in my life showed me that a lot of times a therapist character in a show or a movie or whatever could be a pretty easy cushion for your writing to kind of spell out the things that you want to say and make the subtext text and so on. Um, so moving forward, unless it's absolutely necessary, we'll try to avoid characters like that. But The Last of Us is not doing that. The
Right. No, I
Last of
do
Us is
think
utilizing
that
her quite a bit.
that's one. I think that there's a later scene between with
Her and
uh
Tommy.
yes, Gale and Tommy that I think is better. I just think that scene with Gale
Yeah.
and Ellie is pretty bad because it is like it turns the subtext into not only text but like spoken word
Yeah.
that the character is explaining. But
Yeah.
speaking of Craig Mason for 1 second, you're familiar with Craig Mason's work before Prestige TV, correct?
Not entirely, no.
You realize that he was the writer of 2 Scary movies.
Oh.
He wrote Scary Movie 3 and Scary Movie 4,
Okay, so not the good one. Well, actually, I won't say that. I kind of like the 3rd one, but the 4th one is where they really start to take a dip in quality.
and then
The
also, the writer for Superhero Movie,
Listen,
2008.
I'll say this, 14-year-old Kevin, one of my favorite movies ever.
You would be the guy that it was, like, really into that, wouldn't you?
I loved superhero movie. I thought that shit was so funny. Honestly, there's a handful of jokes in superhero movie that I still think are funny, and it is one of those things that I probably for the rest of my life will still make references to that people won't understand. There's like a couple comedies that I grew up on like that where I'll just kind of quote them in conversation or like say something and someone's like, "Why the fuck did you say that?" I'm like, "You guys don't get the joke." And I think
Oh,
I've done that before with superhero movie.
then maybe
Um,
you're just, Craig Mason's biggest fan. He also wrote the film Identity Thief.
is that the
Um,
one with, what's her name? Um, Melissa
Melissa
McCarthy.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I haven't
Yeah.
watched that. Um,
But yeah.
no, yeah, I mean, it's
That's like
listen, those are not
the
the
stuff he
most
did before. That's like all of the stuff he kinda did before, he did Chernobyl.
right. Yeah,
Did
those
you
aren't the
watch
greatest.
Chernobyl?
Still haven't watched it. It's been recommended
Interesting.
to me by a number
Wow.
of people, and
Okay, so
Part
I've
of
been
me thinks
talking
I would
about
really like it, but part of me is like, I feel like I'd be let down by it.
it's good. It's overrated, but it's good. It's so this is interesting because I've been talking about Craig Mazin as this like understood cultural guy, but
Yeah.
you haven't really seen anything he's done outside of The
No,
Last
I
of Us.
haven't.
Interesting.
No.
Okay,
Well, except
okay.
for all the movies you just named that he did.
No, that's true. That's true. I guess
Um,
never mind. Yeah, that's true. But it's like
but as
understanding
a
that he
TV
did those
writer,
movies and then
uh,
also like transitioned from that until Chernobyl, and now
yeah,
has like a totally different. Uh,
career. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyways, Craig Mazin.
Yeah, no, I like the scene that you mentioned a little bit more, the other therapy scene or scene involving our therapist. I thought that was a little bit better. Mostly I think Tommy is kind of like uh a heart of the episode here where it's like this episode I think is only successful for two reasons. Because you said it's like okay, and I was like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, that stuff, the writing is pretty bad. I think two things are really effective. One, every time Tommy is on screen, uh, yeah,
Gabriel
the
Luna
opening.
is a really great actor, giving a
He's a
really
great
good performance
actor.
in here.
The opening was really emotional. It made me really sad. I kind of liked the approach, which I didn't know what to expect because this was part of the game that I hadn't really seen in gameplay before, and so I kind of thought that the episode would start with like them revealing it to him and him having like a kind of big over the top like freak out about it. Instead, we get this like really quiet, sad moment just between him and Joel, or presumably Joel alone. And I thought that was a really good approach to that.
Yeah,
Uh, and then every other time he's in, like that therapy scene and every other scene that he has this episode, I'm like, yeah, I mean, the guy's great. The other thing I liked about this episode quite a bit was every time Ellie and Dina are together. Um, and obviously, we're going to get more of that soon. So that's a good sign. I think when they kind of take off on their trip this episode, I was really into it. They do kind of like cut around some stuff, I guess, where it's like because in the first season, so much of the journey that Joel and Ellie were on was like you really went through every step. And then in this one, they kind of just like they leave and then you just kind of like cut to them like way, way
they
further away.
they didn't go
Um
that far though.
no,
They
they didn't
went
go that
they went
far,
from
but
they're in Washington and they went to Seattle,
yeah. So
which
they're
is
not like
yeah.
or Wyoming, you mean? And then right?
No,
They're in Wyoming.
isn't Jackson in Washington? Am I
Thought it was
crazy?
Wyoming.
No, you're right. It is Wyoming. Yeah,
It
it
is
is Wyoming.
Wyoming. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
Wyoming to
It
Washington.
is.
So it's a little bit of a
It is
journey.
kind
It's
of a
like
little bit of a
it's,
journey
on
then
horseback, it's
on
like
horseback.
they're crossing state lines. And so like we get one scene of them talking on horseback, but otherwise like we kind of just flash forward to them like way further down the road and I'm just like I would have liked a little bit more time spent between them because that is kind of probably a good way to establish that relationship. They do still have a nice moment in their little tent in the rain. During that moment, my girlfriend pointed something out to me that made me feel really bad that I just like I don't know if the people writing the show don't think about this or if anybody thinks about this or if this is just like not important to most people, but when they're just like sitting there in a tent during like this like super bad rainstorm, we're like watching them have this cute moment and my girlfriend's like I feel so bad for the horse just sitting outside in the rain. And I was like, wait a second. I kind of forgot about the horse, and I assume most people did. But I was like, "Damn, that does suck." Like that horse is just out there in a
In
storm.
the there's that like the exterior shot be what's it called? The that whatever, like the exterior shot of them before the cuts inside of the tent. You see the
Yeah,
horse next to their tent getting rained on. Yeah.
right. And I'm like, "That sucks, dude." Like
Yeah, but it's
I feel
also
bad. It's a
yeah.
horse,
It's a
and it's like
horse.
it's the world that they live in, but it's not nice to think of.
Yeah.
um.
No, that scene
Anyway,
was good. Very quotable moment there is when Dina says, like, "Oh, you're gay, I'm not."
right.
Very,
Yeah, Dina's kind of playing games with Ellie that I'm not sure I
yeah,
totally
very
approve
rude.
of.
Very,
Dina's being a bit of
yeah.
an asshole. Now that's probably a stretch, but Dina,
No, she
you
is a
know,
little bit. It's like whether or not it's intentional, she's being, uh, like an asshole. Yeah.
yeah. The other thing that I think we have to talk about kind of the show's big moments are the town council that they have, um, where they conduct a vote and where people are free to speak. Um, Big episode for old Seth.
Yeah,
I believe is
I
his name, right?
yeah, it's
He's
Seth. Seth, who is the homophobic guy from the
yeah,
first episode of the season, who's getting a bit of a
not
redemption.
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure I like this at all.
It's
Like,
I saw so Gene Park, who is the video game writer at the Washington Post, like he's the video game journalist over at the Washington Post, he tweeted something where like he kind of likes what they're doing with Seth in this episode because it's more about Ellie kind of being on the way that he's interpreting it, right, is like it's about like Ellie maybe being on the wrong side of things, where the person that she's agrees with the most is this
right.
guy that like she doesn't have
Yeah,
the
part of
same
his
worldview
speech, I
of.
was like, I don't know if I really like the sentiment here at all.
Yeah, this guy that has kind of like an obviously flawed worldview is the only
Yeah,
person that Ellie's really aligned with. Uh,
yeah. I
which
do
that's
like the
interesting,
sentiment
but
that getting revenge for Joel in the world that they live in makes sense. I mean, part of like what they
no.
established this episode is like that like when Ellie and Dina are having that conversation, they're kind of just like, "Oh, tell me about the first person that you killed." And so it's kind of like uh shown to us that this is way different than like the world that we know, obviously. Um
But revenge
is
is bad. It just
yeah,
is. It's like it's
sure,
yeah.
sure. I
It's
I
bad for the
don't
soul. It's bad for your
yeah.
resources.
I don't disagree with any of that. I mean, I'm not sure that I'm not saying that I would have voted yes in this circumstance. In fact, I think one of the interesting things about the episode is that so many people voted no. Like it was, it was like
Yeah.
9-3 or something. It was like nowhere
So
close.
obvious. I would have voted no. So obviously, not only beyond like, yeah, revenge is bad, but they were asking for 16 people,
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of
16
people.
like able-bodied people to like
Yeah,
go
who are
really far
probably all gonna
away.
die.
Yeah, it's like what are you talking about, dude? Like,
Yeah,
what the fuck? What if there was
yeah,
another horde attack? What do you mean?
which is a thing that they say in the episode.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's like what?
Um, yeah, no, I mean it's a good point. The thing that I really liked about it, I guess, is just that like kind of like I said probably last week, I think, is that I wanted more of a look into how the town functions and also just like how it functions in the aftermath of this awful thing that happened to them.
You
And we
love
don't
a
totally see it by
commune.
flashing forward. What did you say?
I said you love a commune. You're like
I
you see their little
do.
commune and you're like, "Oh, I wanna know all about it. Tell me all the
Yeah,
details."
I do love a little commune. I'd love to like, well, maybe not an American commune, but I'd love to like live in like a little commune somewhere nice outside our country. Or maybe in our country if it was just kind of remote enough.
Yeah.
But I do love a little commune. In fact, never mind. Now we're going too far into off topic. But but no, but I was I like that stuff, and so I don't totally love that they kind of just like flash forward 3 months and we don't really see any of the recovery until like 3 months later. But I guess that that's what they have to do. Um, but I do like that we're seeing this little democratic council that they've built and how the decision making happens um and also that it stresses the fact that like this happened to a lot of other people too, from the viewer's perspective, we obviously only really care about Joel. We have no reason other than like basic human empathy to care about made up characters that we have never met. But the other people in the town, to which these characters are real people, do have a reason to care about their family members passing away, and quite a bit of them did, as we see this episode. So, I, I I find all that stuff pretty interesting because it does set up a lot of uh, good questions. But I
Yeah,
like Joel a
I'll
lot. I would have wanted revenge.
that's fair. I don't know. I don't think I would have wanted revenge.
I don't
I
it's hard to phrase it like that because it's like, I'm not gonna be the one to do it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not
a
killing
bitch.
anybody. Yeah,
You're
okay, well,
like,
not
"Oh,
okay.
somebody go kill these people, please."
Alright, dude, alright.
You'd no, you'd be praying at the end of your bed being like, "Please," like no, it's like what's, like Venom and like Topher Grace and Spider-Man 3 being like, please kill Peter Parker," while he didn't do
Listen,
anything,
man,
while he's sitting there not
you
doing
don't wanna
anything.
see me in an arena of hand-to-hand combat, okay? You don't want to see the violence that I could enact on you.
Sure. Sure, no, yeah.
Um, anyway, is
Yeah,
there
anyway, The Last of Us.
anything else you wanted
Nah,
to
no,
say
I
about
don't
this
think so.
episode?
It's fine.
Okay.
It's
I
fine.
feel like
Next episode will be better. Well, yeah, so okay, one actually
next
there's
episode is not a continuation of this episode, right? I think it's one of the, like, I think it's like a flashback episode or something.
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure I don't,
There was a
somebody could.
stinger at the end of this episode, and it was like Ellie and Dina fighting zombies
Oh,
and
maybe
stuff.
it goes between both. Maybe it goes between, like, continuing this episode and also flashing back.
Anyways, a big discussion point online. This again, I'm going to talk about the video game for 1 second, but
Right,
Ellie says to Gail that she did not talk to Joel on the porch when she got
right,
home from the party. The porch scene, which is when Ellie talks to Joel on the porch, is a flashback. Is a very crucial, very iconic, very pivotal like flashback scene in the video game.
right.
Uh,
But
so
does
people
that not
are
mean that they can't
freaking out.
still use it in a later episode?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like I
I
think that
feel like they
Ellie
will
is not telling
probably.
the truth and did talk to Joel on the porch. I
Well,
feel like
that's
the
what I'm
porch
saying.
scene
Well,
is
because
going to be in the
the
show.
episode goes to pretty great lengths to establish that Ellie lies.
Yeah.
I mean, the conversation, I hopefully everybody interpreted it this way, but the conversation that Ellie has initially with the therapist, it's very obvious that she is telling her the things that she wants to hear. And not just that, but then it's later obvious that the therapist knew that, like knew that she was lying and just accepted it because that's not like the time to challenge her. She probably sees this as a sort of like, like this is going to go on for a while. And it's like, but like both of them were performing in that moment. Um, so I feel like it's pretty fair to assume that they're going to have a flashback scene that proves that wrong. But I don't know. Maybe they won't. I guess we'll find out. I feel like that
We will
if
find
next
out.
episode is going to feature flashbacks, then I guess I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the flashbacks that they include. But
Maybe. I think like anyway, yeah. We'll see next week. We see
yeah, we
something about
got
the guitar. We're gonna yeah, we'll see.
yeah,
We'll see.
yeah,
Can't
stuff
speculate
will
too
come.
much.
Yeah, exactly. The studios episode,
We can
episode
speculate a lot about
7.
this.
Yeah, episode 7, I said, titled Casting. Um, what did you
This
think
is
about this one?
so funny.
Dude, they
So
they're
funny.
getting on a bit of a hot streak, I'm not gonna
They're
lie. Between
cooking.
between this week and last week, we're getting some really good TV right now. This is sort of to me the peak of what they could do with their satire, where it's like
Wow.
this is that like no, I think like I'm
Yeah.
like this is sort of like this episode is sort of what I envisioned like the best version of this show being.
Mhm.
I mean, so obviously so was last week's, but last week's I think was like a little bit of a different conversation in terms of like commentary on our present moment and how the studio was going to approach it and like still be funny. This is like an ideal episode to me.
Yeah, so like the opening scene. I don't know if it's the opening scene, but like the scene towards the beginning that sets up the whole plot, where they're announcing the cast of the Kool Aid movie, and one by one they go and each realize like, oh wait, is this racist? Is
Yeah.
so funny. How like it takes like each of them longer than the last person to figure out what they're even talking
Yeah.
about. That's so funny. That's so
It's so
funny.
funny. I mean, each kind of like hurdle is funnier than the last one as well, where it's like first they're just like, "Okay, is this racist?" Then they're like, "Okay, we just have to make his whole family black." Then they're just like, "Wait, we can't have the animated family be black and have the live action family be all white." And then it's like an all black cast, and then they're like, "So Kool-Aid is only for black people?"
Yeah, that's so well, and
Um,
the director, bro, the bits with the director were so fucking
Dude,
funny.
they're so silly. Nicholas Stoller, who has
Yeah,
been in a
Nicholas
previous
Stoller.
episode.
Or Nicholas Stoller
Um,
was like, "Fuck it, I'll rewrite the whole thing, I don't give a shit."
yeah.
That was, like, the funniest
I
line
sent you a
reading in the whole
text.
show.
The one line that I thought was so fucking funny was when Chase Sui Wonders' character, like they came up to her and then she was like, they're like asking her about that casting decision, and she's like, "Yeah, I never thought Kool-Aid was a black person drink," and they were like, "Oh, thank God." She's like, "It's a poor person drink," and they're like, "Oh my God," they're like freaking out. Like, that's so funny.
That is so funny.
Um, they really got me this week. They're nailing it. This feels a lot like, I mean, part of it is like, I'm not surprised that the 2 guys who dominated the 2000 studio comedy, still got it, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I found their movies funny back then, and I find this show funny now, but it took a while for me to be totally on board. You know, it was only a few weeks ago where I was like, "Oh, is this show going to get a little bit repetitive, or like is this going to like kind of not be uh as entertaining week to week?" And now it's just getting better. Like,
Yeah, and I love all the cameos in this one are very fun because they're not, like, A-list, like, hot, like, culture the moment cameos. It's like Ice Cube,
yeah.
who's not in the eye of culture right now, and also it's like
He's still
Z-Way, who
pretty popular though. I feel like
yeah, and the same way
I feel like
Snoop
you have to
Dogg is popular
consider.
though, you know?
Sure, but like,
I'm
is
not
there
dissing,
just like,
I think it's fun. I think it's a
no, I
fun show
know.
to
I'm
get.
just saying, like, I feel like Ice Cube is still like just like a little too relevant to be like a sneaky little cameo. It's like that's Ice Cube, you know?
Yeah, but, like, I don't know, compared to the other people, it's silly. It's a silly
Sure.
guy to have.
Yeah.
And then Z-Way, very funny person,
Mhm.
um,
Agreed.
playing herself in this.
Yeah.
I hope that Z-Way will return. Um,
Yeah. I like when she plays herself in media. I She's good at doing the thing that she does.
yeah, I really like the line reading of her saying, "So you're saying that the Kool-Aid man can't be with a successful black woman?" Um,
Yeah, and then it's even funnier because then when they bring Ice Cube in, he's like, "You're racist for assuming that I wasn't thinking about the Kool-Aid Man being black." Like, it's like, "I knew that when I signed on to the project." Um, it's so funny. Like, it's just like I mean, yeah, it's kind of what the show started off as, which is just like wrong decision after wrong decision and kind of like feeling like a cartoon, but also the topic is just like so much better. Like, it's like the first episodes were kind of like, okay, I could see the appeal, and now they're like throwing the stuff at us where this is what I want them to be about every week. Like, they like because it's like all of that, and then the like AI stuff is
oh,
just
yeah, then
like the
there's the
cherry on
AI
top.
singer
Like,
at the end.
so fun. When it comes up earlier
Best
in the episode,
punchline.
when
Yeah.
it comes up earlier in the episode, I'm like, this is going to have the best payoff of any joke all season.
Yeah,
Um,
best punchline, of any joke
yeah,
for sure. Because
so good.
yeah, because it's like it's a funny moment when Nick Stoller is like, "Hey," like, suggests using
Yeah,
AI
he
on,
brings
like,
up
some
the idea.
small
He's like
things.
he's like and then he tells him the price. He's like $3 million or whatever, and he's like, "Ooh, yeah." We don't have that.
Yeah, that's so funny, and then him running off the stage, and Ice Cube going, "Yeah, fuck AI." It's so silly, it's so silly.
I wonder what the future of this movie is. Like, if you were to what if this were a real life situation where like a lead actor in your movie finds out about the use of AI live on stage during the announcement of your movie,
Yeah.
what would the repercussions of this kind of situation be?
Um, I mean,
You know, it's like,
presumably he's getting paid a lot of money, so I don't think it would
sure,
actually happen, you know?
sure, but
Right? That's like the thing where it's like you're getting paid multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars,
oh, yeah,
if
I'm
not
sure Ice Cube would not,
million
like,
dollars.
have the exact response he has in the show, but also it's like, what if he did, you
What
know?
if he did? That would be
Yeah,
silly then.
like,
I
what if
guess it
they
would be
did? What
over.
if they
They would cancel the movie, right?
Yeah, I feel like
Probably.
you'd probably have to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
fun it's funny to think about. Well, because it's like it's funny because this is the same, I don't know if you saw that piece of news about Natasha Lyonne's project that she's doing,
No, I didn't
but
see.
but it's funny that this episode it's almost like every time an episode comes out, it just, like, totally matches up with something going on, because there's, like, some new and I don't know the specifics of the piece of news, like, at this very moment, so I'm just summarizing and probably getting some of the facts wrong, but, at least what I remember from the article is that there was, like, an announcement of a movie that Natasha Lyonne is directing in cooperation with a company that is going to make it, like, an AI movie, and so I'm like, "What is she direct?" And also, like, what does this mean? Because at first, when I read the title of the news, I had assumed that she was making a movie about AI, but it seems as though she is making a movie using AI. Um and then I saw a tweet today where somebody was like, "So what was all this about?" And it's just like a picture of Natasha Lyonne during the strikes, and it's like,
The
yeah,
strikes
that's
weren't about AI. That's I think we need that needs the strikes were not
sure,
about AI. Yeah, but yeah,
sure,
that's very
but
silly. Natasha Lyonne directing an AI movie.
yeah, um, and so I thought it was funny that that was a piece of news, and then I watched the episode of The Studio this morning, and I was like, oh, I was like, this couldn't have come out at a better time,
It's so silly.
and they keep
No.
doing that,
Oh,
so
also Catherine Hahn is back. We were talking about
she
that.
is back,
Yeah,
yeah, and she
one of
was
the main
quite funny
characters
this
in this one.
episode too.
Yeah, opens up first face we see is Catherine Hahn.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
they had that thing about them making out.
yeah, incredible
Um,
tension there. Great sexual tension in that first scene
you
between
thought
her.
so?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
interesting.
Do you know what next week's episode is about?
No, but I imagine that in the middle of our conversation, you were reading the, description for it
I
instead
was
of paying
looking at it.
attention.
I was paying attention. I
Okay.
was Oh,
It's funny, for listeners, Doug texted me today, and he was like, "I noticed on the last episode we recorded that sometimes you'll be saying something, and I'm just looking at my computer screen the whole time."
I
And
was
then
really doing
and
that
then
when we were talking about
earlier,
Havoc.
like 10 minutes ago or something, I noticed Doug just staring at his computer screen for a minute while I was talking, and I was like, "He's definitely reading the description for next week's episode."
I was doing that, yeah, no, I was listening to what you were saying, though. Um,
I believe you. I just it's funny that you found this moment of self-criticism and then continued to repeat the same habit that you not even just, like, made evident to yourself, but made evident to me, you know? It's like you wanted me to acknowledge your wrongdoing, and then you continued to do the same thing right in front of me.
so next week's episode is called The Golden Globes, and
Mhm.
it's
Oh, I
about
did know that. I did know that it was a Golden Globes episode.
Matt tries to get Zoe Kravitz to thank him in her award acceptance speech. It's gonna be very silly. Also,
Zoe Kravitz, who famously
oh,
at
we're just assaulting people on live television now? A couple, big cameos in this include Charlie D'Amelio
Oh?
and, Rami Youssef.
Okay. I have
Yeah.
a feeling that that will just be, like, at the Globes, I
Yeah,
guess, where,
probably. Yeah.
like, I get Charlie D'Amelio as a presenter. What would you do if they announced the lineup for this year's Golden Globes and Charlie D'Amelio was presenting, Best Picture?
the Golden Globes, one, that's not what the award's called at the Golden Globes, and also
Sure.
two, the Golden Globes are a fake award show that nobody should take seriously, regardless.
This is also true.
Already,
Yeah.
um,
Well, I wouldn't totally call them fake. I think that they like have a pretty intended purpose to be like a
remember
Hollywood
when
award show
it came
for
out that
celebrities.
people were just buying votes at the Golden Globe?
Yeah, no, I mean fake as in like their results are fake, but I feel like the goals of the show are just to like be a big event for a bunch of celebrities to show like that like it's like a viewership show. It's
Yeah,
like
no, yeah.
this is like the Oscars with broad appeal. Um Hello. So Charlie D'Amelio getting up there and doing a TikTok dance would be like
That would be funny.
very, very Golden Globes of them.
That would be very funny.
It
Shout
would
out
be
Charlie
funny.
D'Amelio.
It's funny though because it would be the studio doing it in their version of the Golden Globes as opposed to the actual Golden Globes doing it. So that's like
Yeah,
then they kind of continue the hot streak by being like, "What is the Golden Globes like?" And their first thought is like Charlie D'Amelio doing a TikTok dance on stage at the Golden Globe.
yeah,
That's good stuff.
it's heightened, like, ironic satire.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's good stuff. I don't know if that's actually what is going to happen in the episode. Maybe she's just like
No, we'll see.
you
What
know,
if it's she's like
it'd be even funnier if she was accepting, an award
that
right
would be
before
so funny.
what if when Zoe Kravitz is, like, going up onto stage, the person that is, like, doing the speech before hers is Charlie D'Amelio winning for, like, best supporting actress in a TV show or something.
That would be very funny. I think that's yeah, we'll see, I guess, but that would be very jolly. That would be so silly.
Yeah. Or it's just,
Shout out
like,
Charli
neither of these
D'Amelio.
things, and she's just gonna, like, be, credited in the episode because someone, like, watches one of her TikToks or something, which would be kinda lame, but
Charlie D'Amelio, fan of our friend Max.
is that right?
That is right. Yes. Yes.
Um, and what is the nature of their relationship?
So, like 4 years ago, she posted
Yeah.
like 4 years ago, she posted,
Yeah, no,
like
I mean, I'm friends with LeBron James because I went to a Lakers game 4 years ago.
no, 4 years ago, she posted, like, 500 TikToks on her spam account using Max's sound. Uh, yeah,
I mean, listen, she's never used one of my sounds.
true. She might have used one of my I would have to check, but
Okay, I don't know if you would, but
alright, everybody. It's been nice
Whoa,
hanging
whoa,
out.
whoa! You're just taking over the outro. How do you know that we're done?
Oh, do you have
What?
anything else to say about the studio?
Um, what do you think about cancel culture?
Alright, everybody. It's been real. We'll
It's
catch
been
you on the
real. It's
flip
been
side.
fun. We will see you next week for another episode of The Last of Us and the studio. Bye.
Bye.